So it's all to play for still.
I think so. Do you want to bet against us?
Hi, villains, and welcome to For the Love of Paul McGrath podcast. Some of you may have already seen this previously. It is a podcast on Giovani Lo Celso and Alex Baena. And yes, I did do this live, and I do have a bit of confession to make. I made a complete another mess of it. Some of my statistic sheets were completely wildly out, and also on my notes sheet here, I realized midway through the podcast, and I continued to go with it because it was a live podcast. I realized that I started to talk a small little bit about somebody who I am doing a piece on tomorrow called Mikel Moreno from Real Sociedad. And somehow I had intertwined my notes for Alex Baena and Mikel Moreno together. And I made Alex Baena 6'3" all of a sudden when he's actually 5'8". And through the podcast, I was kind of second guessing myself, and I'm blaming it 100% on sleep deprivation at the moment. So I do apologize for anybody who watched this live, but watch this again. Everything else was okay. Just Alex Baena's height was incorrect, but I wanted to rectify it. I've come back on. I'm being really honest, being transparent, just in case you're wondering why this is showing again. But we will go through the podcast once more. And as I said, this is something that we want to take a look at with regards to two players that Unai Emery is going to be very, very familiar with. Both of them playing in midfield positions, not similar positions. One is going to play more left midfield, left winger type player, who's very, very similar to another player within our team at the moment, and we'll get onto that later on in the podcast for those of you who didn't see the original one, and that is Alex Baena, but Giovani Lo Celso is somebody I think everybody is going to be familiar with. So we're going to take a little look at him first. One of the things I want to mention about Giovani Lo Celso is that he is... Look, he's known to the Premier League. He came in, he started obviously in the Premier League with Tottenham. He's coming from Real Betis, where he had a really good career. Also played with Paris Saint-Germain as well, came directly from Argentina to play with PSG, moved to Betis, and then from Betis originally went on loan and then moved full time to Spurs. But during that period of time, I think managerial changes and just, I suppose, expectations within Tottenham Hotspur meant that he was kind of pushed to the side. He was utilized in a variety of different positions, whether it would be kind of a wide midfielder, or he was utilized as an 8. He was utilized at times as a 6, very sparingly as a 6 for Spurs, more so as he was used as a 6 for PSG. But he's kind of moved to Villarreal, he's been played a lot more further forward. We're going to take a look at some of his statistics in a moment, and I'm just going to pop him up here on the screen. So one of the biggest things about Giovani Lo Celso is that he's really good with playing with his back to goal. So I think that's probably his best quality, I think, as well. He's able to contribute from multitude of different positions, but he started to get better. He's 27 years of age, started to get better the further forward. He's kind of gone into a kind of a hybrid role, maybe a second striker or an attacking midfielder. He missed out on the World Cup triumph. He got a hamstring injury just beforehand, didn't go to the World Cup, so unfortunately for him, he doesn't have a World Cup winner's medal. But he would have been in that squad. I would be 100% sure he would have been in that squad had he been fitted at the time. One of his biggest strengths are he's going to be his progressive passing. You're going to see it in the stat sheet in a moment. Consistently there to provide a passing option. Very intelligent, able to vary his game to respond to different situations. His movement is quite good, finds little pieces, little areas, should I say, in between the lines as well. And he when he gets into space, he can carry the ball. Like carrying the ball isn't his main attribute, but he can carry the ball as well. Off the ball running is quite good, but his big thing is his shot creating actions, his and his progressive passes, and I think that's going to be something we're going to look at quite a lot over the course of this summer is Unai Emery wanting to get people who can progress that ball forward. And that's something that that Gio Lo Celso absolutely can do. So let's take a little look at these slides. So I mentioned that he is somebody who normally plays in that kind of support. I've got him in there as a support striker, but I'm not quite sure that he is a support striker. If you were to put him in this team that Unai Emery played last season, he does play in that number 10 role for certain, 100%. And I think what he offers more so than somebody like a Buendia or somebody like a Leon Bailey is that ability to be able to play with his back to goal, to be able to take that ball in and not panic with it. He's a very assured player, and I think something that's been missing from like Buendia isn't exactly terrible at it. You know, he can do that, but he gets pushed off the ball slightly easy. I think we've all seen that. You know, he tries to kind of almost take the defender on with his hold up play. Like John McGinn can get away with it, but Emi Buendia can't. And Leon Bailey certainly is somebody who isn't able to play as well with his back to goal. So I think it's something that the team needs. That team needs to have that fulcrum at the top. They can accept the ball with their back to goal to take that weight off Ollie Watkins, so Ollie Watkins can move around up there, and Gio Lo Celso can do it. And when we look at his maps here, we can see here that it really does, navigate around his shot creating actions. Defensively, he's quite good. I would expect him to be good because he's got he has played in that number 6 and that number 8 role before as well. So I would expect him to be able to tackle, and he can tackle. For this Villarreal team, he was asked to press high, and he can certainly do that. And I think he would be asked to do that for Aston Villa too. When he's on the ball, you can see there his passing and possession stats are quite good too. The big thing here is his progressive passes are right up there, 7.75. We can see we can't see it in this stat sheet, but on the next one that we'll see in a moment, you'll see how much more he progresses the ball than some of our true midfield players there. But another area that really stands out are his shots on target, his shot creating actions. Really big statistics there for him, and something that he has replicated throughout the course of his career. Albeit he's not a goal machine for sure. He has replicated, taking shots, being able to create shots, and being a creative type player throughout the course of his career. So when we look at him here in comparison to Emi Buendia, to Philippe Coutinho, and to Leon Bailey, we can see there that he stacks up pretty well and better than them in most categories. So he's somebody that I think could come in here, could hit the ground running. Obviously knows Unai Emery and could play in that number 10 role for sure. Here are his statistics when we look at him up against the true midfielders that we have. As I mentioned before, his shot creating actions and his progressive passes far outweigh any of the players that we can see here, and they also outweigh the people that we saw previously as well. But when we look at his defensive output, obviously his interceptions and so on, he's not going to be somebody who's going to be nipping in and getting that ball. He is going to press, he is going to tackle players, he is going to pressure players, but he's not going to intercept that ball high up the field, much not as we would like somebody who can do that. As I say, that is very much a niche kind of situation for an awful lot of those support strikers. But Gio Lo Celso has good enough defensive capability to be able to press high and then win the ball back and then get into a shooting position, which is definitely something that we want, or get others into a shooting position, which is also definitely something that we want from our strikers for certain. So, like, I for one would be all for the signing of Lo Celso. I think at 27 years of age, he's still within his prime. He knows Unai Emery, and he could come in here in a position that we absolutely need. And I could see this one happening. We've seen an awful lot of players linked with Aston Villa, and as I said, this one looks like, of all the links that we've had so far, this one looks like it could hold water, could have legs. But I don't know how much. Excuse me. I don't know how much Unai Emery would like to go back to the well with regards to Villarreal players. But Lo Celso could be somebody that he could sign for certain. Saying that, we are going to take another look at another Villarreal player, and that's Alex Baena. The player that I formerly mentioned was 6'3" and read some cons notes from a completely different player. So spoiler alert on that one. But Alex Baena is somebody who hit the headlines this season. Scored 12 goals throughout the course of the season. I think you have 48 games he played for Villarreal throughout the cup games, um, uh, European games, and league games. But he really burst onto the scene this season. So Unai Emery would have utilized him at the start of the season, so he will be familiar with him. He also gave him his break 2 years ago. He scored 2 goals in 20 appearances for the team. A couple of seasons ago, but he went on loan then to Girona 2 years ago, and in the Segunda division, and he ate it up there, and he really got his first taste of a proper taste, should I say, um, of senior football. And then when he came back to Villarreal, there was a lot of faith put in him over the last season, and he surely repaid it. As I said, I previously said, and this previous iteration, he's 6'3". He is not. He's 5'8". And when you look at him, he's not really tasked with doing an awful lot of work defensively, and we're going to see that within the stats sheet in a moment. So when we can see here, look, his defensive work is quite low when we look at that. But I mentioned as well that you see him play on the field, and you see him. Um, player statistics can be affected by the fact that they might be asked to do something that they're not, or they might be asked to play in a certain specific way. This guy was given free reign and license to carry the ball forward, to be that attacking player. I referenced that he reminds me of a current player, a current Aston Villa player, and he does. He reminds me of a young Philippe Coutinho. The way he moves the ball, the way he shifts it from side to side, the way that he takes shots. Looking at his shooting statistics, there, coming off that left wing, playing sometimes as a left central midfielder, playing sometimes as an attacking midfielder. He loves to get shots away. He loves to attempt to dribble as well. Got great feet, great control, great close control, and he's somebody that that has a lot of rounding out to do within his game for certain. But he is somebody that I think is from a Premier League point of view. Arsenal were sniffing around him last season. They wanted to bring him in. They wanted to play him in that kind of fast movement game that Arsenal play. Um, Premier League wise, I think he is suited to the Premier League. I would love him to see him in the Premier League. He does need, as I said, to round out some of his statistics based on what you can see there. Little things like pass completion. I'd like to see him a small bit better at that one. I like to see him dispossessed less, and obviously his defensive statistics are something I like to see him improve as well, as I try to stifle back a yawn, because it is quite late here. Very very interesting player, very exciting player, as I say, a player that scored a lot of goals. Very not good in the air at all. I don't know whether like, it's funny when the ball is played to him. I don't know whether it's a case of he's asked not to go and head the ball, or if he's afraid to head the ball. But you can see that in his play, that I'm not quite sure that he wants to get up there and get at that ball and to hit that ball. I'm not 100% sure if that's something. Now, when the ball is fizzed across the area and stuff like that, he will stick ahead in it. He will try and do something from that point of view. If it is with regards to trying to score a goal, but in open play, he's not the most. He doesn't have great aerial ability. And he's out in the wing anyway, so it's not really going to make much of it. It doesn't really make much of a difference to him. I think I could see him moving in more inside as time goes on. The reason I say that is because I don't think that he's lightning quick. I think he's quick enough. Don't get me wrong. It's kind of like that Yuri Tielemans piece. Yuri Tielemans, everyone was saying, is very, very slow, but I don't see him being slow on tape. Baena is he's faster than Tielemans. Don't get me wrong, but when we think about that left wing side, those left wingers, we're looking at players that would be lightning quick, and would have latent pace out there. He doesn't really have that, so I think maybe over time he could move inside a small bit more, round out his defensive game, and try and get that get him internally a little bit more. Maybe whether it's push forward into that attacking midfielder role, whether it becomes a 10, or whether he plays a kind of a left-sided midfielder in a diamond formation or in a narrow midfield as well. I think that's something that he could do. Really, really interesting player, as I say, and he does. I mentioned there that why he reminds me of Philippe Coutinho, and you go and watch him yourselves and see if I'm maybe stark raving mad, but the way he moves the ball out of his feet and his technique at striking the ball um, is reminiscent, I think, of a Coutinho. Don't get me wrong, I'm open to correction on it. I am open to correction on it. And as I say, I in the previous podcast I did on this, which I've since taken down. And when I was watching it back afterwards, I went, oh, I was reading the notes. It was a Ron Burgundy moment where I would read anything that was put in the teleprompter in front of me. But as I say, it's something I want you guys to do. I want you to look back at I want you to look at footage of him. As I say, I'm not like, I'm not a snob. Go in, watch it on YouTube, see his best moments, see if you like what you can see from him. Because as I've said before, you look at a player at their best, and a manager will do that. Obviously, they will look at them at their worst as well, and they won't look at YouTube highlight reels and stuff like that. They'll obviously use Y Scout or whatever else, and I do have a Y Scout account. To watch these players and to watch these games and to watch and that's where I would do most of my video scouting on these guys. But I'm okay with watching YouTube videos and seeing what you can see, because it's all about finding attributes and similarities, I suppose, and traits. I think that you can still pick up on a YouTube video. So I would implore everybody to do that. Just don't do it in the tired state that I tried to do a podcast in earlier on. And thank you so much to the person who messaged me and told me that I had it was like as if I was talking about somebody completely different, because I actually was. So rest assured that I'm not doing it again on this podcast once more. Let's take a little look at Alex Baena's statistics when you put them up against true midfielders. As I say, once again, we're looking at the progressive passes are high. We're looking at the shot creating actions are high again. It's something that I'm highlighting this because it's something Unai Emery is going to really want to get into this team. He's going to want to get that progressive nature. He's going to want to get that creative nature in here. And these two players are people who can do that. And I see that they're playing in two different positions right now. But the reason I've grouped them together is potentially Alex Baena could move inside, as I've said. He could move inside. He could become a more all-rounded midfielder. Like, he's going to need to learn how to tackle to be in the Premier League anyway. He's going to need to have his defensive statistics are going to need to improve to play in the Premier League. But I think that he can do that, and I think that he can move inside, whether it be playing as in the number 10 role or whether it be playing in a kind of a more narrow midfield. I absolutely think he can do that. And Unai Emery will probably be the best man to get that out of him. If the fact that he absolutely knows him as a player, and he knows the Premier League as well. So if that is something that he is to do, if he comes to the Premier League, regardless, he's going to have to increase his defensive output. You can't just leave a left winger on an island like that. Specifically in left wing, you are going to need to track back. You are going to need to tackle a small bit more. And as we can see here from a statistical point of view, it's not something that he does, or that he's been tasked with doing. When you watch him, he's not really tasked with doing it. He's given that kind of free rein to be that creative impetus out there, to take shots, to create actions up there, and to be very much an attacking entity as opposed to a defensive entity. And I think if he comes into the Premier League, he is going to need to learn the defensive side of things as well. So I'm going to end it at that again, because I know that some of you that have seen this will have already seen me talk about him previously. I will be back again tomorrow with two players that we haven't been linked with. Well, one person we were linked with tentatively some time ago, but haven't been linked with again. And that's, as I mentioned previously, Mikel Merino, somebody who's played from Newcastle United and has played with, is currently playing with Real Sociedad. I think that he's a fine midfielder and somebody I want to discuss tomorrow. And also another player that I want to discuss tomorrow is another Spanish-based player, Alex Garcia, somebody who has who came through the Man City academy and is currently playing with Girona. And I want to discuss him because I think he's a really interesting player. So I'm going to come back and discuss the two of those tomorrow. I do apologize for anybody who watched the previous podcast that might have been scratching their head wondering what the hell is this guy talking about. Yeah, I do apologize, and as I say, I have rectified the situation again. Everyone's entitled to a mulligan every now and then, and as I say, the notes were jumbled up, but I'll make sure that doesn't happen again. So just for confirmation, Alex Baena is not 6'3" like I mentioned previously. He is 5'8". But anyway, I'm going to leave it at that, everybody. I hope you have a fantastic time of it. We will be back again tomorrow, and until then, stay safe, stay healthy, and all that's left to say is up the Villa.